Welcome back to the Beer Junkies. Today we are going to show you how to brew our award-winning Golden Lager. The Golden Lager is a light and crisp beer with a malty, toasty backbone and a balancing but not firm bitterness. I'm going to walk you through all the ingredients we use, the malts, hops, water profile, and yeast strain. I'm also going to walk you through our process, the mashing profile, mash out, sparging, the boil, whirlpool, knockout, fermentation, and at the very end, the taste test. So let's get started. The water profile for the Golden Lager is 50 parts per million of calcium, 5 parts per million of sodium, 75 parts per million of sulfate, and 60 parts per million of chloride. To do that, I am adding calcium chloride, gypsum, and Epsom salt. I'll add this to the mash tun and the hot liquor tank to spread that water profile out evenly among the two. Right now I've got the hot liquor tank filling up to the right volume and temperature. Once that's there, I'm going to push it into the mash tun for mash in. But before that, let's go through our grain bill. For the Golden Lager, you have a couple of different choices. You can do either a smash Golden Lager, which is single malt and single hop, or you can add a couple of specialties to bring out the complexities in it. If you're doing a smash, it can be 100% pale or 100% Maris Otter. You can also split that 50-50 between the pale and the Maris Otter to cut back on some of the rich, bready, and toasty notes that the Maris Otter adds. If you want to add specialties, you can add a small amount of Crystal 40 to 60 Levavon, Vienna malt, and or Victory malt. For the Crystal malt, you want to add less than 5% of Crystal 40 or Crystal 60. You don't want any higher than 60 or else you'll add too many harsh notes. You want less than 5% because you want just a touch of color. It is golden, you don't want it to be encroaching those amber colors. And you don't want too much sweetness. You want it to be a crisp and refreshing beer, not sweet. So less than 5% was perfect for that. For the Vienna malt, you can add between 5 to 10% of that for add a little bit more grainy flavor, a little bit more maltiness, but you don't have to do that at all. And then finally, if you want to add a little bit of Victory malt, keep that one below 5%. That'll add just a touch of toastiness. These are the malts that we use for our Golden Lager. We use about 90% pale malt for our base. We don't use any Maris Otter. We also add about 5% Crystal 40 and about 5% of Victory malt. That adds just a touch of sweetness and color and a little bit more of the toasty, bready notes. We've got the nice crush there. We have our rice hulls on top for a little bit of added stability. The mash tun is ready to go, so let's mash in. We just finished mashing in, so now we are recirculating. We are pulling the wort from the bottom of the mash tun through our false bottom, pushing it through our wort pump, going into the lower herms, coming out of the upper herms to keep that heat right where we want it. And it is recirculating, so we can set up our grain bed, mash filter for the sparging step. We mash our Golden Lager at 152 degrees for 60 minutes. That'll give us a good mix of the alpha amylase and beta amylase to get a nice balanced fermentable sugars profile. After 60 minutes, we're going to raise it to 168 degrees for mash out. So I'll be right back before we raise that temperature. We just got to mash out, so now I'm raising the temperature of the hot liquor tank to 177 degrees. This will raise the temperature of the mash tun up to 168 degrees, which has already started. It's on its way up now. It is the same setup as the recirculation. We are pulling the wort from the bottom of the mash tun, pushing it through our wort pump into the lower herms, coming out of the upper herms. As this hot liquor tank heats up, it will heat the mash up that is recirculating through, which will in turn heat up the entire mash bed. So the recirculation is continuing to set up that grain bed filter, which is essential for the sparging step. And speaking of the sparge, I'll be right back once we get to mash out and begin to transfer into the boil kettle. We just got to mash out, so now we are sparging, pulling the wort from the bottom of the mash tun through the mash filter, pushing it through our wort pump, added this hose to direct it towards the boil kettle, which is down here and filling up. At the same time, we are pulling the sparge water from the hot liquor tank, pushing it through our water pump, and rinsing the residual sugars through that grain bed filter that we set up during the mashing process. So we will sparge until we reach our original gravity, or until we start to get last runnings of 1.008, and at that point we will heat the boil kettle up until it gets to a boil. These are the hops that we use for the golden lager. You want one that's going to add a clean bitterness, like a noble hop, such as Tettnang or Middle Fruit. If you don't have access to those, you can use a substitute like Liberty or Mount Hood. We add about 16 IBUs worth at the 60-minute mark, and that's it. We don't add any flavoring or aroma hops or dry hops. We just want the clean bitterness to counteract any of the malt sweetness that we added. We just got to boiling, so we will boil this wort for 90 minutes. Add the hops in at 60 minutes. At 10 minutes, we add in a yeast nutrient. At 5 minutes, we add in Rolflock tablets as our binding agent. We just finished the boil, so now we are whirlpooling. We are pulling the wort from the bottom of the boil kettle, pushing it through our pump into the tangential input of the boil kettle. This will create a vortex that will pull all of the hops, proteins, and hop break to the center of the boil kettle so that we do not transfer it over during knockout. We just finished a whirlpool, so now we are going through knockout, pulling the wort from the bottom of the boil kettle, the racking arm, pushing it through our pump, going through our heat exchanger. You can see the oxygen being injected through there. And then we're going in right around 66 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, traveling all the way down here into our fermenter that is bubbling away as we push out all the excess air. We just finished knockout, so I took my gravity reading. We are right at 1040, which is perfect. And you can see all that cold break that is forming at the bottom, which is the result of that rapid chilling through our heat exchanger. This is the yeast that we are using for the golden lager. It is the high pressure lager yeast from White Labs. This lets us brew lager-like beers in about 2 weeks. We ferment this under 15 pounds of pressure using a spunding valve, which I'll show you in just a second, which really limits the ester production and produces not quite a lager, but it is very, very close. We ferment the golden lager under 15 pounds of pressure at 67 degrees for about a week. It'll start to finish off right towards then, and then we will raise that temperature up to 72 degrees for that diacetyl rest. After that, we will drop it to 33 degrees for the cold crash, let all that yeast and sedimentation fall to the bottom of the fermenter, and then we will transfer to the bright tank where we carbonate it to 2.7 volumes. Then we will keg it and enjoy. This is our spunding valve. I've already pressurized the fermenter to 15 pounds. This will prevent that ester production that I mentioned earlier, and I have this set to 1 bar. So once the yeast starts to ferment and produce that carbon dioxide, it will release anything over 15 pounds, but it will not go under. So if I slowly adjust this, you can see the bubbles will come from there. So once this starts, I will show you what it looks like in active fermentation, but for now it will wait until that yeast kicks off. All right, this is what we made. It is crystal clear. It has a golden color with a white head for the smell. There's not a whole lot going on with the smell. You get a little bit of graininess, but no hop character. For the taste, it's very similar to the nose, where it's got a grainy sweetness, a nice maltiness, and a balancing bitterness, but not bitter. It's very crisp and refreshing. We're over the age of 21. We do not condone underage drinking. Please drink responsibly. Cheers. If you'd like to see more brewing content like this, make sure you click that subscribe button right below, and please let me know what you'd like to see next in the comments. Cheers.